Okay, my friends, get ready for this. This is called basalt plagioclase feldspar. And this is common, it's everywhere. And it is thought to be just everything that they can't explain, volcanic. Now, I have the same stuff here, and I will show you it is not volcanic. Now, we're going to be going into these vases because they have found these vases. They claim they're thousands of years old. They have no idea how they made them. But I can tell you what it is made of. That right there is plagioclase. And that is, the next one over there is some of this and some of that. It's a little of everything. Now that one right there, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to tell you later what I think that is. But I can tell you one thing right now, that is all biology. It's all biology. Now I'm going to show you this one, the plagioclase, is on that rock right there, which happens to be a body part. All right, this is some plagioclase I have here. Call it whatever you want to call it. I know exactly what it is. And here is some up in a microscope. And you can see the little red areas, and you see the little fibers, and they call that basalt plagioclase, volcanic in origin. Okay, as is my custom, I like to give you the shocker du jour up front, and then we will get in great detail. This, I claim, is the big toe from the left foot of a giant human being. And this is the callus on the side of the toe, and it's this thick. It comes all the way down to here. And it caps off the arterial side. The artery ran here. This is where the vein was. On the other side of this is the grip skin, which is the plagioclase. This is also the same stuff, all these little fibers, just like those fibers, only this is a lung. Any tough, expandable fabric in your body has to have these fibers in it, or it cannot expand and come back to where it was. The fibers are there as a material to keep almost like a fabric so that it can't tear and rip. That's what these fibers are. I'm going to show them to you in extreme detail. These appear to be curiosities made by people that really knew what the hell they were doing. And they're body parts, and it looks to me like that might even be a penis. We're going to look at this stuff because they did this intentionally. From what I could tell from this video from Praveen Mohan, they were looking at all these vases and saying, how could they possibly do this? And some of them have cores on the inside of them. Some of them have all these layering, and some of them have the plagioclases. And what the hell are they doing with that? What is that all about? So I think it was just they were having competitions to see who could make the weirdest thing. I don't know. But this, my friends, is a toe. There's no question about that. Absolutely zero question. And I will show you this in a microscope. And on this side, is all where the plagioclases are. You see those? Those are those fabrics. You see in the back here? This one up here with all those fabrics on them. Well, those are those fabrics right there. Same thing. All right, and they worked this one up here, polished the outside of it, took out all the little tiny imperfections and stuff, and somehow sculpted the inside of it. They must have been turning it on some kind of a spindle, and cut it. All I can tell you is that is grip skin, heavy fascia, pleura. It's that type of a fabric that can stretch and move. Like your fingers, you have to do this all day long. They'd rip apart if you didn't have that stuff. Same thing with your lungs, same thing with your heart. All right, this is Praveen Mohan. I just showed you these plagioclases. It's the exact same stuff. Now he's saying, wow, in time, and I'm not sure, you can see, it kind of speaks to how, whatever. They just don't understand what they're looking at. They're looking at all these different bowls, and then they're finding these cores in the bottom of them. And then what I just showed you is, and they're looking at it with black lights and what lights up and so forth, which is the same thing I show in my microscope. All these different colors and things. They used actual natural things. and made bowls out of them. I don't know how they did this. They had some kind, like they're talking about what I would do today if you glue metal to a stone vase. I don't know. They're trying to figure out how they made these vases. And I don't know either. They had some kind of tools that they could get in here and carve as they spun them. And because they could see these little pins coming up in the bottom of at least one.
Metal to a stone vase, I would just...
Yeah, I'll probably get around to that.
You see all these different vases? No. Let me see if I can find the spot where they were talking about the little pin coming up in the center. Because they obviously spun them on something, but some of them have like little loops around the outside of them, handles, and exceptional workmanship. Oh, there it is, right there. You see this? They're looking down inside, and this is a pin that's sticking up. Okay, so let me come down here. You see how they got in here with something, a tool, but it was spun from the other side out of, as far as I'm concerned, out of biological things. You see?
Even after the stuff. That's really good. It's really so fancy to see this.
First of all, you see all those layers?
Yeah.
You see all these layers? That's a layer of tissues. Those aren't just gouge mark layers. You see the different colors? They're going through layers of tissue. Now, what that was to begin with, I don't know.
Yeah, that's good.
Now watch, she's going to look inside.
I just confirmed on it. That one has a range of 4000 BC to 3250 BC.
Okay.
Now, how did they know that?
So this has a date range that they gave. So
Okay. And what is this one? Why is it looking like a rocket?
yeah, that one's pretty interesting. That one you'll probably want to use the inside camera as well.
Whoa, so sorry, upside
Look at how intricate that thing is.
down, huh?
Yeah, yeah.
And inside, what do we find?
What we find.
All right, you see all this, though? This is biology. Now, the outside, how they spun it and made the ears on it and all that, I don't think they glued these together. So on the inside, what do we find? Well, they found a little pin.
What we find on the inside is the remnants of the original core. So they drill a core to hollow out the inside, to drill a hole on the inside, and then they snap the core off. But on this one, the core didn't snap off at the very bottom. It snapped off with about a centimeter of
Really?
overlap.
I see.
Yeah.
There's a side cam. Oh.
Now, I'm looking at this thinking, first of all, we want to look around at this. I'm not sure what this is, but it's biological. And I believe that core is the strap that was originally holding this, more than likely a tendon ball or a tendon anthesis.
Isn't that cool?
No, he's got, if they could turn the light down and we could see. Now, this is the core sticking up. You see these little, I think this is the central, literally the central core that came down and attached to this thing.
It's very crazy.
You see it?
Yeah.
Now, the light down here is very intense, but I still think that this is a different material right down in this core than it is here. Let's see if we can make a determination there.
Oh my God.
I can see that it's absolutely a different
Nobody's
material.
ever been inside of this thing to see it before.
Yeah, I bet, right?
History, right?
Yeah.
It's a different material. That is absolutely a different material. So, all I can say is this, I understand all of these conglomerations. What they think happened there, I don't
The
know.
mouth is so small.
Right.
And you can't, if I look through it, nothing is visible. Then
You can see, it's a whole different, that is the core that held this, I believe it was a tendon anthesis. That's all I can take away from this. So, because I understand what we're looking at. When he looks at it, even with different lighting and so forth, you can see all the different colors come out. Okay, I showed you before up in the microscope. This is the plagioclases that are in this toe. And I can show you this is a toe. And I was going to chop this open anyway to see how much gold is in there. And I'm almost certain there's going to be, I know there's going to be gold in there because I can see it in here, which happens to be, whoops, you can't see that, can you? Let me back out of here. You see where my finger is right there? Well, first of all, you see up here? These are these vases. What I just showed you was these plagioclases. Same. These vases are being made out of body parts. And where they came from, they claim they're like, I don't know, 3,000-4,000 years old. But they are body parts from giants. Now this is a giant toe. And what I'm just pointing at right here is the callus on the side of the toe. That's the heel spot. Well, the spot on your toe. If you take your big toe, let me move this out of the way. Hold on. All right, let's take a look at this. That, I say, is that cornified, heavy-duty, gnarly spot on your big toe where it makes impact mainly. Now, then on the outside of the big toe, you have a callus. And that is the callus right there. That's the callus. We're going to look at that closely in a minute. Now, what else do we see here? That's where the toenail was, right here. And I'm a little concerned about this because I think this has toenail fungus when this guy died. Because the toenail's missing, and it would have been over here. I don't know how big it was, but he didn't take care of his calluses, I can tell you that. You see that callus? This is what they call cornified skin. There's a couple of things I want you to look at here as Mudfossil E's. This is the guy's callus. Now I'm going to come up close here, and you're going to see cornified skin. See all that little bumpy looking stuff? It looks like little marbles all over. Little bumpy looking things. Now, this is the layers of the callus. It's this thick. It's that thick. Now, I can see that metals are coming out of here. Now, I got a little pneumatic jackhammer. What I'm going to do is take that jackhammer and go, and I'm going to try to open this callus up. You see there's a seam in here? It's just like a regular callus that you have on your foot if you don't take care of it. You're going to have one of those. Now, again, this is the grip skin. That's that, they call it plagioclases like it's something special. It's the grip skin on your fingers and toes. Very, very heavy-duty fibers. Those little white fibers, you see them? You see them? I can show. Well, anyway, we're going to be looking at this. Whoops. We're going to be looking at the callus in the microscope. And we're going to be looking at this, which is that little gnarly spot. You just feel on your own toe. You're going to have that really heavy-duty spot across from your callus. And what big toe is this? Well, it's your left foot, big toe. Yeah, your left foot, big toe. Now let me put this back under there. Now let's examine this a little bit to see just what we can see here, then we're going to bring it over to the microscope. All right, but don't forget, they're talking about it as going to be this stuff here, plagioclase, and they got all kinds of body parts, crystals and this and that, and they made fabulous things out of them. How they did that, I don't have an answer specifically, but I can tell you it certainly looks like they knew where these body parts attached, and they used those and spun them and somehow cut in with lathe type tools and gouged out that stuff as they were spinning, and ended up with these outstanding looking vases. I mean, that's all I can tell you. And anyway, Praveen was trying to understand how they're made. I hope maybe that helps a little bit. But let's investigate this gigantic toe. I'm going to tell you right now. Let me explain to you why this is so unusual. This is one of the most unusual artifacts I have of a giant. And I will show you why it's so unusual. Okay, my friends, before we get started, the most unusual, basically, artifact that I have here is this right here. And it is a toe of, I believe, a giant human being. And that's where the toenail was, basically. It's gone, and you're underneath the toenail here. This right here is the callus that was on the side of this big toe. This is a left foot big toe. And this callus capped off the artery side. So the artery blood could not drain out, which it normally would. It capped it off just like a bandage over the top of it. So why do I say this is so unusual? Because normally that blood would have drained out of there. It can't get out. It's got this big patch over the top of it, which is the callus. So what did happen? What would it appears that this was died like up on its end like this, and all the blood drained down to this tip like this. All right, and you see that black spot right there? That shouldn't be there. That should have been capped off inside. But when the blood ran down, it tried to get out through the red side, couldn't get out. So it had to go somewhere. So what did it do? First of all, it blew off the the toenail. So the toenail is gone. To my mind, it blew it right off of there. Then it exploded the black blood out of this side, which never, ever, ever, ever happens, because the black blood has clamps, which are the vein side. Now I'm going to put a little water on there and you'll see. This side should never turn black like that. All right, that's the scuzzy looking stuff that lays up against your next to your second toe over. So in other words, this is the big toe. That edge right there is the edge that normally would lay up against your next toe right here. And it's sort of wrinkly looking. So the tissue is correct. You see the tissue down here? That's the correct kind of, it's a fabricy, sort of gooey tissue that lays up against your next toe. And this should have never come out of here. Now I'm going to put a little water on it and we'll take a look at it. All right, you see how black that blood coming out of there is? And there's a spot right here and there's a spot right here where that came out. It's not supposed to do that. They're supposed to clamp off and they never blow out. This is the first, well, it's the best example I've ever seen. Now, this down here is that webby looking fabric that's on your toe where it meets up against your next toe. So don't forget, this is the side, right here. This is the the toenail side, and it's exploded off. It would have been way up here somewhere, I think. This is where the vein entered here. And again, it shouldn't, it's pushing so hard down here that it exploded out the side and it bubbled back and then snapped off. All right, this right here is fabric. You see that? The artery side is here, but it couldn't blow out. And it's red, runny blood, so it ran off. You can't even hardly see it. But it is right over here, right in this area. and it would have run its blood right out through this side here. You can see a little bit of red coming out of here and there. You see that little triangle? That's how this stuff wraps around. But right down at the bottom here, and again, this is where you see all that plagioclase stuff, the black and the white. You see it, those little black and white fabric. Let me just leave it down there for a second, you can see. Down that bottom piece there, that is the gnarly, you know, you got spots on your body that make contact continuously, and they're just built to do that, and they're gnarly hard things, and that's what there is right at the back of your toe. And you'll have the same one on your toe, because everybody does. And this is tough stuff, because it's grip skin. It's got I call it grip skin, friction skin. It's a very cornified, heavy duty fabric. And that's why all these fabric things are in here, strappy. This just was never taken care of well. You know, basic hygiene was not this guy's forte. So we're going to take this off with my little pneumatic and try to lift that whole thing at once. I don't know if that'll happen or not. We will have to see. Oh, but this is what you got, my friends. That right there is a giant left foot toe, big toe. All right, and you saw the fabric on the bottom is the same fabric as in these jars. Well, that particular jar. They were all made out of body parts. Every one I saw, I can account for them. I have them all here, the same stuff. Only there's just still body parts. I didn't make jars out of them yet. Maybe I will tomorrow, who knows? Okay, my friends, home of the shocker du jour, and I shall not let you down. Well, what's today's shocker du jour? We are getting worldwide attention, finally, about mud fossils. I got a thing from academia.edu, which I have a bunch of papers up there and some other things. And they keep track of who's looking at here and this and that, and I don't subscribe to it or anything. They just, you know, once you post up there, and you can post for free, it doesn't cost you anything. I've never paid them a penny. Very nice people, and I appreciate, I should pay them something, and I probably will soon. But you don't get a lot of traction up there. It's a place where you publish that nobody else will let you publish. So I do. And like I say, I think I have 45 papers up there, because I just let loose up there. Nobody would let me publish anywhere. But anyway, I think they said there was 112 or something countries from people from other countries have visited my profile and downloaded my papers and this kind of stuff. And what I'm noticing is that the people around the world, I've got them from everywhere now. It's very, very encouraging, but it's very limited because of the, you know, translation and all of that business. But they are much more in tune with mud fossils than people in the United States. People in the United States now, I'm going to tell you right now, as far as I can tell, this academia situation and peer review has literally brainwashed and intimidated anybody from speaking about anything that is not considered mainstream. Now, I just got this from my friend in Russia today. And I've been getting from people all over the world that are saying, yes, we're really starting to really engage in this. We'd like to get more information. I encourage anybody that wants to translate my stuff, translate it. I don't care, just use it, you disperse it, however you want to do it. But anyway, I get this from my buddy, Andre. He's a Russian. Look at that. And he says they're big time in Russia, huge into mud fossils now. I don't know if that's true or not, but I do know that Well, who's that? I don't know, Andre. You might be right, buddy. Okay, my friends. Just a shocker du jour manifest destiny. Sometimes you get really lucky with the lighting. Now, I'm going over these plagioclases and all these little fabric fibers that are in it and the bottom of this big toe. And then, oh, if you put it in the right light, you can see where the toenail was and the callus and all this. But this is quite obvious. Now, occasionally you have a finger or a toe or something that it's so transitioned that you can't see where the toenail was or any of that. Well, I have one over here, which is a giant, I think it's a finger. And it's been laying around here for a long time. I never really could see every little detail in it, where the bone was and so forth. And then I just looked over and noticed in that particular lighting, there's the bone right there. You got to get it in the right lighting to see, because it's so heavily transitioned that it's no longer bone or anything that was there originally has been transitioned. But the membranes that surround things seem to stay somewhat structurally sound, and that includes the skin and includes the membranes that surround bones, muscles, and so forth. But you really got to know what to look for. This one here, look, that's the inside. I mean, there's a ton of red blood in there. I can see red blood coming out of everywhere. That's all red blood. Now, this is what they would call olivine. And it's the same thing. It's like basalt, olivine, all of these different things. All they are is body parts that have transitioned in a different way. If that transitioned differently, it would be plagioclasis. That's all. Okay, this is going to be another shocker. I showed you the plagioclasis. You saw those. Now, in the microscope, I have a small lung. And there's what it looks like in the microscope. Now, consider this. You see all those different crystals? Those are crystals. Now, if we were drilling and it was thin enough that a very bright light could show through there, what would you think you would see? You would see all these different crystals. And that's exactly what you see in some of these vases. Now, don't forget, that's this little, I'm going to move it here, this little crystal thing here, which is a lung. All of those are alveoli in the lung. And they're all different, fabulous looking little colors. All right, now let's go look and see what Providence shows. Now, as far as I'm concerned, this is basically the same thing. They showed this, and you could see all these really nice little colors. Basically, exactly what I showed you in that lung. And then they put an extreme light inside here, and you can see the actual crystals. All right, I showed you this one here. Now, if you had cut in this, you'd have all those little tiny crystals. And he knows that it would be extremely fragile. And he's saying this to him. He says, you got to be really careful with this one. I'm going to put on the closed captions so you can see what he says. He says, he showed another one that was translucent. He says, hey, have you got any more of those? He says, I've got this one. Let me show it to you. But this is very, very fragile.
Show it to you. You'll have to be careful with this one.
It's fragile.
This one is fragile, so it's absolutely beautiful.
This one is translucent, huh?
It's translucent and fragile.
All right, it's translucent. Now he's going to put an extremely bright light inside there, but then he's going to take it out and you'll be able to see that it is basically the same as this. And that would be extremely fragile. He knows it because somebody made these probably in some kind of a competition or something. I can't see any usefulness for that, but anyway, here it goes.
Yes, sir.
Watch, he's going to do the lights. Look, he's putting that light inside
Right,
here.
if you hit those lights again,
Watch, now watch this.
Yeah.
There it is right there. It's the same thing.
Wow.
2 millimeters thick.
2 millimeters, huh?
2 millimeters around.
What material is this?
It's granite. It's the
Really?
red granite. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
red granite.
Up to 4 millimeters thick, and it's very, very symmetric. The wall thickness around all the edges is very symmetric. Ryan, you might be able to pull up that, in addition to the lights, you might be able to pull that.
Anyway, they're showing they're trying to figure out how they made these things. Well, they made them out of body parts. Now, maybe they were not completely solid. And because there was a time that these things were in a transition phase from being actual biology into being actual stone. Maybe that's when they made them. I don't know. I mean, everything they've shown, I have. This is a lung, all right? But when you break it open, all of the little alveoli are filled up with whatever this is, probably some kind of silicates. You know, and maybe they could have worked this. I don't know. And again, it could have happened right after the flood when everything was still a little bit moist. Because I can show you, there was no question whatsoever, the whole surface of the earth was moist at that time. All these bodies were starting to transition into becoming stone. And the walls in Peru were body parts that were cut slabs of them and put up in these walls, and they just sort of fit together like putty. And the seals were completely sealed. That's how that happened. And they had machines here. I don't care what anybody says. There was huge, gigantic slab cutting machines here. When that happened, when that stuff was soft, and that's the only possible, and I will show you, there's no other situation here that you can show me that can negate that. They had huge machines. They sunk into the soft flesh and tendons of the slabs they were cutting, and then moved them and made walls out of them. All right, explain this to me. This is down in Peru, Bolivia, I think. It's in Bolivia. Oh, hold on a second. All right, when I say they had machines here, they had machines here. There's no question about it. This is Fuerte de Sempiata, Bolivia. And these are tire tracks from some gigantic machine that was this wide. And it was designed to drive on soft tendon, which just happens to be tendon and flesh. And it drove up here, settled into the soft tendon and muscle, and started cutting slabs. And then what did they do with those slabs? Well, here's what they did. They cut these slabs. That wasn't cut by some little chisel. And then they took them down there and they built the walls with them that everybody said, what's up with these walls? They were cut when these were soft. This is a gigantic tendon. I've shown this literally hundreds of times. People just cannot get their mind to accept the reality of what stares at them. And I've talked to all the big Peru guys and all the big shots down there that, we know everything about these long-headed skulls and we've been knowing everything about them. Well, what about this? I'm not kidding you. They absolutely refuse to discuss this. I know exactly what this is. I know exactly why these white spots are here. I know everything about this. I know I know everything there is to know about this now, because I've been 15 years fighting the rest of the world. And I'm kind of glad that that's what happened, because otherwise I wouldn't know any of this stuff. I had to prove everything I was saying 10 times over, and I have. So it's time for the rest of the world to catch up with reality. Because you guys that have been with me you're here already. The rest of them, and it's an obnoxious pushback at reality. It really is. I have found this, it's discouraging that humanity has this attitude, and no interest in investigation of the things that nobody can explain. I explain them all. I have to be able to explain them all, or I can't make these statements. When I make a claim, I don't make a claim saying, it must have this, it must have happened, this must have. No, here's what happened, here's why it happened. Here's what they wrote about it. And is there evidence? Yes or no? Some things I don't have any evidence for, so when I talk about it, you talk about ghosts and spirits and stuff, I don't know. I don't have the evidence. I see there was stuff written about it. I don't have any, I can't discount it. Let's just go with that. I don't want to get into things. I can't talk about it because I don't know. And I get people all say, no, I don't know. If I don't know, I don't know. But when I can show you something and then I say to you, explain this to me, I can explain it. That was a gigantic machine. It cut these things. It was wet when it landed here. This is tendon, and the tendon was cut when it was wet and put in these walls, and it's seamed together just like putty, so there's no seams. That I can talk about. I can talk about everything I have here because I know what I have here. And I've studied it for 15 years, and nobody else has. So it's time that we get Mudfossil University as a complete, full university. And then no, people won't have to pay for this core curriculum nonsense, being brainwashed into saying what everybody else says because you have to. Otherwise, they won't give you a degree. You can't get any other good degree until you agree with all that nonsense. It's just not true. They know it's not true. But if you don't say everything everybody else says, you're out of the loop. No degree for you. Go home. We tell everybody you're stupid. Have a nice day. Oh, by the way, $20,000. All right, so I'm sorry I keep going down this road every time, but there's absolutely no interest from our top universities, and I've hit them all. And we're going back at it again. I've got some people that now are going to help, and we're going to go and just lay it on them and say, hey, we want some answers. That's it, we want answers. We're presenting you with evidence. It's your job to present your opinions to this. You cannot dismiss this. I have DNA and CAT scans and all that stuff, and giant specimens, new species called the no-toes. Nobody's interested. Couldn't care less. Stuff coming through space, little tiny meteorites that still have blood in them. Comet East Asteroid Bennu that they have gone up, spent billions of our dollars to get this sample back here. They sat it for a year, and they can't deal with the reality that it's heart muscle sarcomeres. The phosphate surprise is the layers of membranes, and the sarcomeres are in there. The chemistry's there. The blood is there. Everything's there. We got a serious problem here because we got a serious issue with communication. We got no communication. They will not let you talk unless you say what they want you to say. That is what happened to academia. They are dictatorial. It's really the worst system I have ever seen. And they are so arrogant that it's infuriating, but that's what we got. Until hopefully Trump will do something about this, because if he wants to clean up some stuff, start there. And then let's see about all this stuff. What was our past like? Is this stuff worthy of thinking about? I think yes. I say absolutely. And it brings you all to everything. It follows into the God and Jesus and religion and all that stuff. Who cares? If it's there, it's there. If it's not there, it's not there. Well, it's never been there until now. It's there, and you cannot dismiss this. If you do, God damn you. Because that's what's going to happen. I got a feeling. These are things that are for you to see. Well, here's the message I got. I don't like to talk about this because it makes me sound like I'm trying to make myself something that I know I'm not. But I got a message that said, go look in the woods. I just woke up one morning. I said to my wife, I said, I just got a feeling I got to go look in the woods. Something's calling my name. These exact words I used. I went out there and, not that specific day, but I knew there was something that I had to find. And within a short time, I had giant human fossils. And I knew what they were. There was absolutely no question. And nobody would pay any attention, so I had them DNA tested. I had them CAT scanned, and it was all positive, exactly what I said it was. Still no attention from anybody. That's many years ago. And it's still going on today. So the only way to get out of this is to just, wash this academia nonsense off the table. It's on the table right now, and if you don't stay on that table, you are the ones that washed up. Well, guess what? They go. Let's go back to that table, and let's start looking ourselves. Because you can't look. Right now, you cannot look, you cannot investigate, you cannot search. You cannot think, you cannot discuss. You repeat, or you are destroyed. Your life literally is held in their hands. Your financial future is theirs. And if you don't say what they want you to say, they will keep your money and destroy your life. And I'm serious. And that's an actual fact. And they have destroyed many, 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 many lives. And the people living in their cars now because they can't pay their student loans, going for archaeology and things that they have no idea what they're teaching. None. And I mean, it goes right across the board. Physics, even chemistry. Chemistry, once you get to the molecular level, and that's the atomic level, yes. Subatomic, no idea. They don't even know why gravity exists. I'm not kidding you. You drop something to the floor, so it hits the floor. You say, why did that happen? We don't know. They don't know why gravity happens. And Einstein about the speed of light, that's absolutely insane. The speed of light can go up, down. Sound is very, very slow light. That's all it is. That noise is light, only it's going slow. It's moving through the air, just like light does, only it goes slower and slower. It's amazing how little they understand. They don't understand global warming. Global warming is our atmosphere scrubbing through space as atmosphere. Because there's an atmosphere in space is totally saturated with particles. As we scrub through it, it gets hotter and hotter and hotter. Now, as we expand our atmosphere from burning stuff, literally burning, combusting, it expands. What was solid, now a gas. The bigger it gets, the harder it scrubs, the more turmoil, the more tornadoes, the more hurricanes. These are the things we're experiencing right now. And that's because of the expansion of the gases. All right, they think, it's carbon. Get rid of the carbon, we'll be fine. No, the carbon's there, yes, because it's carbon dioxide. But it's anything that expands as a gas is going to pump that up. And you can't stop that if you burn stuff. Something that's solid turns into a burned gas is going to expand exponentially. And that's what we're doing right now. We're burning the hell out of this planet. And the planet's on fire on its own self. So, anyway, this is Roger once again, Mudfossil Universe. I love you all. Time that we, literally force the ones that are dominant to pay attention to reality. That's all I'm asking. I'm not asking them to give me any awards or anything. I just want them to pay attention to reality. This is our future. This is our eternity. This is our actual past. What if it had no? If it didn't mean anything, well, it just didn't mean anything. But it does mean something. I'm going to tell you that right now. This has extreme, deep meaning. And the only reason I'm talking about all this stuff, and I have another chakra that's going to come up that's just going to blow the world. It's going to blow the head off the world. Let me put it that way. I've been holding on to this one for a long time. I mentioned it once or twice. Nobody said anything about it. But this time I'm going to hit it because now we're finally getting people to understand this is not silly. And the world itself is made out of body parts. And I'm going to show you a body part in my next video that is, it's just unbelievable. And it's biblical. It's totally biblical. So that's another thing. You can't talk about that in a religion of any sort. Gods, Jesus Christ, myths, all that stuff. That's just all nonsense. Then they throw some kind of crazy course in there. Alternative, insane people course. That type of thing. Well, that no longer is the case. You're insane to repeat what you're being told to repeat and unopposed. And you can't oppose it because if you do, again, you're in trouble. The teachers can't teach anything that they want to. And once they're tenured, they can, but then they're just considered idiots and they put them in room 27, which is the insane area. So, I hate to keep on going down this road, but if I don't, nobody is. Nobody will stand up to academia because they have jobs, they have families, they don't want to be put in that box of insanity. I'm in that box, I've been there for 15 years, I don't care anymore. I just don't care. I have much more interest in doing what God wants me to do than doing what my family or my friends or you want me to do. I do what I want to do because I'm trying to do what I think is right. And I was told to present this test. Like I said, I went in the woods, I found the giants, I came back, I started searching, and almost instantly a message came up and it said, these things are for you to see and for others as a test. And that blew my mind. And so I took that as literal. This, because I knew this was not going to go over well. you know, obviously people say, oh, that guy's crazy. Giants 200 feet tall. Well, that was a puppy. Those were puppies. Now, you know, either I walked away from it and kept, you know, people thinking that I was sane, or I just continued to do this and fought back and became combative, and I did. I became combative, and I became bitter, and I started getting nasty, and at that point, nobody wanted to be around me. And I understand that, because I didn't want to be around them. I had no respect for their interest in reality, none. And I still don't. And I still don't have any respect for my stuff either. I have never had anybody come back, none, zero. Well, I can't say that. On the internet, yes. But in my own personal life, no. The ones that said the guy's crazy and just leave him alone, stay away, they're gone. And that's just what's going to happen if you want reality. And that's just, and even all that stuff is written about. So written about the false teachers and how they're going to lead people astray. And they have. And they deny God, they deny all of the things that the ancient texts, which now I feel has very, very serious information about. There was giants in the earth in those days. These are the giants that were in the earth. And after that, there was more giants. The ones that were from the daughters of man and the gods. And they created ones, they didn't realize apparently that the DNA wasn't going to work too good, and they went 2.5 miles tall approximately. In other words, like 6 feet tall is, let's say that's probably somewhere in the average. In ancient times, 2.5 miles was the average. But the humans were just, I don't know, they were big. I think they said they were about 90 feet tall at that particular point in time, when the first early humans. And that's written in some of the ancient texts that they were somewhere around 90 feet tall. I don't know if that's true. I have no idea. But I know I have them here just normal-sized humans from that time. And other ones that aren't exactly human, but they're pretty damn close. And that's about the same size as my foot right there. And it's even its own soul built into the foot. They grew their own soul on them back then. That's not a shoe. That's a foot. I got them all kinds. I got from at least 4 or 5 different species that aren't human, but they're damn close. So I'm going to leave it at that for today. The next one I do will be the Shocker Supreme, unbelievable. And at that point, if people don't pay attention, there's no way to deny it. And there is absolutely no way to deny it. And it shows the world as a creature. So stay tuned for the next one. I love you all. This is the revelation, and I was worried about doing this. And it's Jesus himself said, there's nothing that is hidden that will be kept hidden, and there's nothing buried that will stay buried. This is, if it wasn't for those statements, I probably wouldn't be going where I'm going with this, because this is literally biblical, and it's been unknown for thousands of years. This is information that's been dismissed, literally dismissed, long before Julius Caesar. They thought anybody that believed any of this stuff was totally insane, even at that point. And they were not. But there was people so devout, they let them burn them at the stake rather than say, no, I'm not going to turn around on this because I know it's true. They would let them stone them, kill them. Jesus Christ went on the cross in the most horrific manner. And he claimed that he was in touch with God. And he was the Son of God. And he came to warn us. And I see no reason to disbelieve that anymore. He knew things about the earth that nobody knew. He said the earth was a corpse. And the earth, when you find the earth or the world, you find the body. And he said, we come from light. We are light. We are the children of light. And all of those things I have confirmed 100% certainty. So nobody else has, and nobody else even believes it till this very day. And even with the evidence, still don't believe it. And this is all written about in these ancient texts too. They'll be shown, they will never see it. They'll hear it, but they'll never hear it. And wise men and the greatest in the ancient, well, hold on a second. Okay, I have found the academic system to be literally fraud. Now here's what it says. Listen to this. And this is all in the Bible and all these ancient texts. They say basically the same thing. Beware of the false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly are ravenous wolves. False teachers cannot understand the things of God which seem foolish to them, which is in Corinthians 2:1-4. As a result, God gives them over to depraved minds. What is the punishment for false teachers in the Bible? Well, these false teachers are like a dry well that has no water. They are like clouds in a storm which the wind blows away so that no rain comes. God will certainly send them to the darkest place in hell. God speaks harshly against false teachers, occult practices, and other means of sorcery. Their lies and manipulations from a forked tongue, so they will choke on their words. I have found nothing of truth in the academic system. Its truth is absolutely inconsequential. It means nothing to them. That's what I found. Now, all this stuff just fell on me. I didn't go searching for any of this. But people sent me things as I started to show the giants and so forth. Luke 19:40 or 19:37, as he approached the descent from the Mount of Olives, the whole multitude of disciples began to praise God joyfully in a loud voice for all the miracles they had seen. All right? Blessed is the King who comes in the name of the Lord. And they're calling Jesus the King. This is what upset them. Peace in heaven and glory in the highest. Peace, something we have not seen much of. But some of the Pharisees, who are the leaders, the teachers basically, in the crowd said to him, Teacher, rebuke your disciples. Jesus said, I tell you, he answered, if they remain silent, the very stones will cry out. This is exactly what's happened. These Pharisees, which are the academic leaders now, are saying, don't you talk about God and all this kind of stuff around us. And I'm telling them, the stones have cried out, and absolutely have cried out. And listen to this. I found this very interesting. Corinthians 1:26, 1 Corinthians 1:26, brothers, consider the time of your calling, which I was said, go out and look in the woods. Not many of you were wise by human standards. Not many were powerful. I certainly had none of that stuff. Not many were of noble birth. But God chose the foolish things of the world to shame the wise. Well, I've been called foolish a lot. God chose the weak things of the world to shame the strong. I've been called weak-minded and an embarrassment to science by some of the top scientists, which are an embarrassment to science. He chose the lowly and despised things of the world. I fit right in there. And the things that are not, I'm in there too, to nullify the things that are, and I will do that. Now listen to this. I found this very exciting because I had no spiritual inclination whatsoever. Somebody said, you be spiritual. And I said, okay, I'm going to be spiritual. Well, no. I said, well, for what? Show me why I should be spiritual. Why should I be spiritual? Show me something that would make me spiritual. Well, yes, I found it. But here's what I found so exciting. Jesus said, if the flesh came into being because of spirit, that is a marvel. All right, the flesh came into becoming because of spirit. Well, that's good. But if spirit, which now I have, came into being because of the body, which I have discovered, that is a marvel of marvels. And yes, it is. I am blown away by the things that I have found. They are marvelous. Marvelous. Jesus said, congratulations to those who are alone and chosen. Hopefully I've been chosen. I can tell you what, I'm alone. For you will find a kingdom. You have come from it and you will return there again. Well, thank you, Jesus. I'm hoping. Here's another one. Their minds were blinded, for until this day remaineth the same veil untaken away in the reading of the Old Testament, which veil is done away in Christ. They had a lot of stuff wasn't true in the earliest texts. It was a veil. It was something so that there was some truth hidden back there, but it was changed. And they're doing the same thing today. The exact same thing. And the Pharisee, as far as I'm concerned, the Pharisee today lives behind the ivy-covered walls. And the biggest top Pharisee there is Yale University. And they have, poison ivy-covered walls, as far as I'm concerned. There isn't. I have a very, very deep. Anyway. And here it is right here. Prophecy of Isaiah. You'll be ever hearing but never understanding. You will be ever seeing but never perceiving. People's hearts have grown callous. They don't want to hear. They couldn't care less. They hardly hear with their ears, and they have closed their eyes. Absolutely. Otherwise, they might see with their eyes, hear with their ears, understand with their hearts, and turn, and I would heal them. But blessed are your eyes because they see, and your ears because they hear. For truly, I tell you, many prophets and righteous men long to see what you see, but did not see it, and to hear what you hear, but did not hear it. All right. Now, here's where you go into Islam, because, hold on one second. All right, now, this is where, I study all of them. I study every single ancient text there is. And this is about Islam, Adam, and the angels, and everyone back then, they say, was 90 feet tall. Now, this is Abu Hurairah, reported Allah's messenger, may peace be upon him, as saying, Allah, and this is in quotes, Allah, the exalted and glorious, created Adam in his own image. So Allah is God and created Adam in his own image with his length of 60 cubits. And as he created him, he told him to greet that group, and that was a party of angels sitting there. So they were not humans. He created Adam, and he said, go over and talk to these guys. They're angels. And listen to the response that they give him, for it would form his greeting and that of his offspring. He then went away and said, peace be upon you. They, the angels, said, may there be peace upon you and the mercy of Allah. And they made an addition of mercy of Allah. So he would get into paradise. So he who would get into paradise would get in the form of Adam. His length, 60 cubits. Then the people who followed him continued to diminish in size to this day. Now, this is a translation of the Sahih Muslim, the book 040, number 6809. So this is a 90 feet tall, apparently, I don't know, whatever the cubit was back then. But I came up with 90 feet, I don't know. And then it goes on and on and on. I mean, it's just unbelievable. They claim to know God, but by their actions they deny Him. They're detestable, disobedient, unfit for doing anything good. Now here's God saying, I have no greater joy than to hear that my children walk in truth. There's false teachers again, and their destruction. There were also false prophets among the people back then, just as there will be false teachers among you. They know all this was going to happen. They will secretly introduce destructive heresy. There is no God. None of that stuff is true. It's all crazy. We all came from slime. Do what we say. Give us a bunch of money, and we'll let you go out and earn a living. And they introduced destructive heresy and took over humanity, denying the sovereign Lord who bought them, bringing swift destruction on themselves. Swift destruction. Well, when he talks about swift destruction, life is like a blink of an eye. I mean, my life is just about over as far as I'm concerned, and it's like a half a blink of an eye. I never thought I'd see, really, there was no reason I should have made it past 14. I was an insane kid. But I did, and here I am. I'm 76 And, you know, you don't get a whole lot longer than that before you're just not really working too good. So, you know, as far as I'm concerned, a blink of an eye is a blink of an eye, and that's what we are here for, is a blink of an eye. And if you keep your eyes closed, well, you're done. You're here to learn. You don't learn, well, all I can say is good for you. And these are false teachers, a swift destruction on themselves. Like after one blink of an eye, then the destruction comes. Many will follow their depraved conduct. These teachers are depraved. They'll bring the way of truth into disrepute. You can't have truth now. You'll be destroyed if you come up with you'll be destroyed. And that's been happening since Tesla, Velikovsky, me, and everybody else. My stuff is material evidence. I am one of the worst, you know, abused by academia, literally in history. I have everything to prove, everything I have. There's no questions about the things I have. The only reason that they can turn against me like this is because of the way modern transfer of information works. They can isolate me, and they have, into a group of people that have some radical thoughts that really aren't mine in most cases. But they also want to see things change, which I appreciate that. So we got to make things change. Hopefully Trump can do it. He's one of the other ones that he's not held in real good stead by a lot of people that have been brainwashed, have been menticided, which means they've been brainwashed by academia to believe only what they say. If it's not peer-reviewed, don't believe it. If we didn't say it, you're not to believe it. For certain individuals whose condemnation was written about long ago has secretly slipped in among you. They are there, and they own us. They're ungodly people who pervert the grace of God into a license for immorality and deny Jesus Christ, our only sovereign and Lord. And I'm going to tell you, as far as I can determine right now, I'm going with that. I'm going with that. Anyway, it's there's so much written about false teachers. I just was stunned. I mean, it goes on and on and on about the false teachers. See what's in front of you, for there is nothing hidden. Here's why I decided I was go totally public with this. I was on the fence for quite some time. And the one I'm going to show you in the next video, I'm still on the fence about that. I'm probably going to do it. But he says, see what's in front of you. There's nothing hidden. There's nothing hidden. Jesus said, recognize what is in your sight. I'm showing you these things. That which is hidden from you will become plain. Everything there is will become manifest. But you have to open your eyes. Here's another one. The world hates the disciples. If the world hates you, keep in mind that it hated me first. If you belong to the world, it would love you as its own. That's what's happened. You can spout on anything you want. If you're part of the establishment, they'll just love it, suck it right up. As it is, you do not belong to the world. But I have chosen you out of the world. That is why the world hates you. Thanks. Remember what I told you. A servant is not greater than his master. If they persecuted me, they will persecute you also. If they've obeyed my teaching, they will obey yours also. If they will treat you this way because of my name, for they do not know the one who sent me. If I had not come and spoken to them, they would not be guilty. But this is it. Everybody knows this is true now. I don't care what they say. They were, oh, I never heard of this. Yes, they did. They just didn't pay any attention. All right? Jesus came, he spoke. They didn't pay any attention. And if he hadn't come and spoken, they wouldn't be guilty. They wouldn't be guilty of sin. They would not be guilty of sin. But he did come and speak. But now they have no excuse for being against God. That's the sin I'm talking about. Other sins are little doing this, a little doing that, and they go all the way up from, a lot of things. But the main sin that I see is denying God and Jesus at this point. And saying, do whatever you want. It's good. Make as much money as you want. Be dominant. Domination is wrong. He says, whoever hates me, which is Jesus, hates my Father as well. They hate God and Jesus. If I had not done among them the works no one else did. In other words, Jesus came and said, I'm going to show you these things. And nobody's else is going to show you this. So I'm going to show you, and you better pay attention or you will be guilty. He said, if I had not done among them the works no one else did, they would not be guilty of sin. As it is, they have seen, and yet they have hated both me and my Father. But this is to fulfill what is written in their law. They hated me without reason. And that's how I feel right now. I got to be honest with you. That's how I feel. I asked, I said, well, what do you think about this stuff? You're an idiot. I said, well, you know, and then eventually I got nasty too. I got to admit, I did. I got combative and I got bitter and I got nasty back. And then I said, screw all you people. Just go on your own way. I'll go on my own way. And that's what's happened since at least 10 years. So anyway, and he's talking about the fleeing serpent, you know, to kill the fleeing serpent, and kill the dragon who lives in the sea. Oh, everything I have shown. Recognize what is in your sight. All right, I love you all. I don't want to just drone on this, but I'm going to continue down the road. I've been told, give the test. If you won't take the test, it's up to you. And now you've been told to give the test. And if you won't give the test, that's on you too. Kavish? Everybody's got obligations. I'm fulfilling mine. I have fulfilled mine as much as I possibly can. I haven't been successful, but I've been trying. Now, you are going to have to help. Last word, I love you all. Thank you. Goodbye.